Flow, Mr. Stephen Marad, he is CEO of Digicel, and we also have representatives of NWC and NWA. In the room, we have Stephen Shaw from NWA, and online we have Delana Williams. And, ladies and gentlemen, we have two very special guests. We have the Minister with responsibility for a lot of things, including water, Minister Samuda, has joined us. And we also have Minister Daryl Vaz, who is the Minister of Energy. Now, we have a powerful panel of speakers, and that's because this is a very significant event that Jamaica is bracing for. And it's important that we all stand together and speak with one voice with regards to how we're preparing for this event. I'm going to hand over to the CEO of JPS, Mr. Hugh Grant, who will start us off.
Thank you, Winsome. Minister Vaz, Minister Samuda, media personnel, my fellow utility leaders and partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This morning, we stand united as utility providers, as our great nation and people braces for what could be a direct hit from a Category 4 or 5 hurricane. We know that you are concerned about your loved ones, your homes, your businesses, and that's why we are here today to provide you with an update as essential service providers, as we also know that you're concerned about your light, you are concerned about your telecommunications, and you are concerned about your water. We're here to reassure you that we stand united and we stand prepared. One of the great learnings that we had in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl was an opportunity for us to have stronger partnerships, do drills, and stand united to share the lens of our various spaces given the great interdependencies. I'm here this morning to share with you that what you see here is something that we actually drilled on March 31st of this year prior to the hurricane season in preparation. In regards to what to expect in the aftermath of a hurricane, as I said, we stand prepared. Our systems are ready, our people are ready, and we stand prepared to work with the various agencies in regards to a response. We have all mobilized our incident command structures, and we have personnel working 24/7 to facilitate a safe and timely response. Here at JPS, one of the significant changes that we made is that we have retainer contracts with overseas line workers to have boots on the ground prior to the storm. We have executed on that, and I'm pleased to say right now we have 71 line workers. More than 30% of our workforce have been augmented with boots on the ground that stand ready to safely respond to the hurricane once it's safe to do so. The other thing that we did is, through shared practices, we have had an incident command structure whereby we have daily check-ins with each other to understand what are the critical facilities in our various spaces and how we prioritize the restoration of those facilities so as a block we can provide the essential services that you're all depending on. A Category 4 hurricane potentially going through the middle of our island could have unprecedented damage on our facilities. Here at JPS, it's likely to be a rebuild and not just a restoration. As we stand now, we're also looking at further preparations to potentially bring in additional resources and barge or fly equipment in, such as bucket trucks, crane trucks, and other equipment that may be required if there is extensive damage on our grid to facilitate safe and timely response. We understand what it means to not have our services. Many of our own personnel live within our service territory. We understand the critical nature and the inconvenience that could be caused. We, however, ask for your patience, and we reassure you that we will stand united to provide you with updates as we execute on our response plans based on our heightened level of preparedness, and as we stand in strong partnerships with our government agencies and others to facilitate our response. I will say, let us ensure that we stay informed and we stay connected through the proper and official communication channels. For JPS, we have the JPS app, the JPS mobile app. We have JPS online. You can also call 888-CALL-JPS and reference the other channels. Together, we will get through this safely as we continue to share the lens in our various spaces, leverage all that we have done in infrastructure. Here at JPS, we have done a lot in terms of our infrastructure upgrades. We have not only rolled out smart meters 100% across the system, but however, we have installed smart devices on our systems that would help to minimize outage durations, and in some cases for critical loads such as hospitals and telecommunications to transfer over to alternate supplies in order to maintain supply. I'll just share one quick thing before we close. An example coming out of one of our drills is that we learned here at JPS that the National Water Commission has loading bays whereby they are prepared to have potable water out to the communities if pumps are down. Those loading bays require power. So we now have that on our radar as one of our critical sites that we will prioritize in terms of our restoration to ensure that water can also get to you. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be well, and be reassured that we stand united, we stand aligned, we stand as strong partners to ensure that to the best of our abilities, we'll provide you with our essential services during these unprecedented storms within the likelihood of significant impact. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Hugh. I will now ask Mr. Stephen Price, Vice President and General Manager for Flow, to speak.
Okay, good morning, Jamaica. I really want to say a special thank you to Sir Grant and his JPS team for really inviting us and giving us the opportunity to speak today. I think this collaboration really exemplifies the kind of unified response that really strengthens our national resilience right across the board and right across the country in the face of catastrophic, what we believe, Hurricane Melissa. Now, as Hugh said just now, we have all operated and initiated our emergency management and incident response capabilities right across the island. Our people are staged right across the length and breadth of the country at our key facility sites. We are supported by a regional crisis management team out of Liberty Caribbean, outside of the market as well, who is also shadowing our local crisis management team to make sure that we have the level of support that's necessary. So as Jamaica braces for the full impact of this storm, I want to ensure the public that Flow stands at high alert as we prepare for the hurricane. But of course, the well-being and safety of our customers and staff are of ultimate priority for us and for every utility provider here. Now, as it is now projected to hit us at a Category 4 or Category 5 storm, and given the storm's intensity, we're really monitoring its projected path, and we know all of the infrastructure that's in the current path that we believe will be battered throughout the period. I think we are well placed in terms of what we have to do from a recovery perspective. In some incidents, as Sir Grant has said, it will be a rebuild. based on the intensity of the winds. And the fact is, by nature, I mean, our networks are vulnerable to both weather and all the technical interruptions. And even right now, we do have one current interruption that we have in voice that we're working through, and that will be resolved within the hour. Now, at this point, I will say to you, as of 8 o'clock last night, over 771 of our 778 sites are up and fully operational right across the island. All our priority 1 sites, which serve the most densely populated areas, are currently at 100% uptime. And I really want to commend my technicians and my technical teams who, even as the storms gather, are still out in the field right now at this present point in time. And we will soon, by about later in the day, pull them out of the field. We have, between ourselves and our tower partners, we have somewhere in the region of about 7 or 8 cows that are here landed in Jamaica. So if towers go and fail, we have emergency response to deal with that. And in partnership with JPS, for many of the pole routes, etc., we'll coordinate our restoration efforts seamlessly, because this drill, we have been doing this all year. We have been working with them in terms of how do we respond, how do we operate. On the backup power side, 61% of our sites have alternative power in terms of solar or generators. So if we do have outages in the national grid, we do have the majority of our sites actually covered and ready. Unfortunately, during the pre-storm assessment and in the past week, we found that 10 of our generators, about 1,300 gallons of fuel, were stolen recently in the past week. So I asked the public to be our eyes and ears out there when they see anybody doing anything out there that's untoward, anybody near any of our sites, just report it to the police, right? Our security vendors are helping us in this effort, trying to secure as many, and we have remote sites monitoring many of our sites. Or 3,500 nodes right across the network supporting our fixed network, giving you your fiber and HFC internet, are all up and running, and we are really satisfied in terms of the work that we have done there. For our aerial to underground project, as you know, last year, one of the challenges which faced our major partner, JPS and Digicel, was that a particular route that we had, Spur Tree, Mandeville, we had major issues there. I would have to say that Porous, Spur Tree, Sandy Bay, Mandeville, they're all underground now, so it's a much more resilient network. Our Emergency Operations Center, as I said, is fully operational. We're working closely with the national agencies. We provided SIMs, credit, and handsets to support emergency response teams. And our emergency lines are open 24/7 at our Emergency Operations Center. And those numbers are 876-929-9834 and 876-929-9837. Our technical teams are positioned strategically right across the island at our major sites. And as soon as we have the all clear from ODPEM, we will start the process of heading out into the field. And that's very important. I know Sir Grant didn't say it just now. As soon as the all clear is given, that's when we can go out there to make sure that we start the assessment. And the initial assessment usually takes somewhere in the region about 36, 48 hours to go through to make sure we understand. Even while that is going on, however, we will try to do as many of the quick wins as possible. We have technicians staged in Panama, over 30 that we're working through. Those will assist us in terms of as soon as the all clear is given, airports are open, they will fly in with equipment and tools to support our teams here to make sure that we are operating. And obviously we all have our prioritizations, matrices in terms of who we serve, who we hit first. Health, security, government, or major partners themselves, obviously the financial industry, those things are high priorities for us as we go through, and we all have those bedded down and planned in our emergency response. I want to say what we commit to, and this is one step in that direction, is communicating at all times with you. We will be transparent, we'll be open, we'll let you know what's happening, and we will over-communicate in times. What we'll also say is that we understand the importance that connectivity plays in our life. It's not lost on us. It's not lost on any of the providers here. And we've made significant investments in infrastructure, trained our teams, built strong partnerships, and we are ready for the response, I will say. But please keep safe. No venturing out into the streets to sightsee. Please, this is a Category 4 storm. We want everybody to be here when it's done. When Flight Jamaica lands at the end of the storm, we want all souls to be accounted for. Please, nothing silly. We want to make sure that everybody is back with us on the other side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll now have Stephen Morad, CEO of Digicel.
Morning, Minister Vaz. Morning, Minister Samuda. Thank you for coming today. And more importantly, good morning, Jamaica. Digicel Jamaica stands firmly with all of its customers, but most importantly, now is not the time to have any divide. We stand as a uniform utility providers. There's Stephen, Hugh, and obviously Stephen's here as well, and Delano's online as well. But now is not the time for any commercial differences. Now is the time that we stand united. We would have said exactly the same post-Hurricane Beryl. Like all of us, I think we've learned a lesson. I myself have been through 3 Category 5s in 2017 in terms of Hurricane Irma and Maria, and also through Hurricane Beryl here last year, and all of the learns are really apparent. I want to just stress a few things around that. I want a big shout out to our fuel partners. What did we learn last year in particular was about how to complete a mass fuel distribution. We're a telecoms and fixed service provider. We're not an expert in mass fuel distribution, but we had to learn, and we learned quickly. We segmented the country into 5 areas to enable us to do that. And I want a big shout out to Petrojam, Petcom, Rubis and Johnson's who really stepped up for us, and I know they're going to step up for us again. Just in terms of our infrastructure, we would have added another 150 generators on the back of obviously what happened to us last year. So that's almost 70%. So we have 925 towers across Jamaica. On the lithium battery, I added about another 50 of them. So we almost got 96% of the network. But please, I want to stress, lithium batteries would only last 3 to 6 hours. Generators would only last as long as the fuel is in there. And I'm going to pause on that because Stephen's touched on it, because I think that's important. You'd probably remind you of hearing me, whether it be at the cabinet meeting or Parliament, or anybody wanted to listen to me. St Anne's was the best example I could give you. A Hurricane Beryl, it was drained of every piece of diesel, which is why we lost St Anne's. Not because of the winds or anything like that, because individuals decided to drain that tank. So I can't stress enough that if you take away critical infrastructure, so whether you want to go and steal the diesel or get frustrated because of the security measures that we put in and decide to damage everything, it will take us much longer to provide critical services for our customers. And that is just unacceptable. Today, its society is more impatient than it's ever been before, but I will really ask you to be patient as we recover. But I think my colleagues have already said, in some instances, as I would have experienced in 2017, that we're going to have to rebuild. And that is a factor, and that's going to take time. Essential services. How do we ensure commerce? How do we ensure the great work that we've gone through as a country in the last few years to grow our GDP? We need to get the country running again. We saw what happened post-Beryl. We saw a dip, and we've started to recover again this year. We rely on that critical infrastructure to grow our economy. And I can't stress enough to have some patience with us while we get our networks recovered, or in some instances, rebuilt. A big thank you to our partners. We have Connex, Inami, Biggs, Aratel, all out there every single day. We've got over 500 engineers in Jamaica on the ground, because now is about being ready to recover. So they're out there, trucks are primed and ready to get out there. Once the all clear comes through, as Stephen would have talked about, once OPEM gives the all clear, we'll be out there on the streets recovering. Another thing we learned is to ensure that we create daily dumps of our network infrastructure. So it ensures we know where every single customer is, we know who was connected before the hurricane, and ensure that we get them quickly back up and running as quickly as possible. So a huge learn for us as a business. Communication, never more critical than ever before. Watch out through our channels. Our WhatsApp channel is growing in terms of popularity now. We would learn that from our colleagues at JPS, and when they launched that last year as well. We're really pushing instant, immediate messages, yes, through social media, but also, you will see if you read in the social media in the last few days, misinformation can be put out there, and I know our colleagues have been trying to disseminate that as well. Don't put misinformation out there. All that ends up doing is wasting valuable time of us trying to disseminate what's fact and fiction. So just really focus on critical infrastructure, critical updates to our channels, to the trusted channels, whether it be through TV, radio, press, or through our own channels as well. That is absolutely utmost critical. Commercialization, so we would have been ensuring that people keep connected before the storm, not just about post the storm. So we have been ensuring that people's wallets are full. We've been giving free data to ensure that people are able to contact. What we would have seen last year in particular, the diaspora wanting to contact their friends, family who are back here in Jamaica just to check that they're all right. So we've been stimulating their wallets. We've been giving free data to ensure that people are able to make calls in, WhatsApp messaging, just to check on them, so we know how critical it is keeping everybody up to speed and informed. Our data centre, so we have the only Tier 3 data centre here in Jamaica, which houses most of our government's infrastructure, financial banks and services. That's all locked and secured, and all the preps and the fuel is in there as well. So as and when that needs to be recovered from government critical infrastructure, we're ready to ensure that they're back up and running as well. And that includes places like the airports, and I saw Minister talk about the airports this morning as well. So ensuring all of those are working as is. And in summary, to echo my colleagues, it is about having some patience. What we would have saw Both Beryl as well is when you see cables that are down, they may be in the bushes, do not go and try and chop them. Please don't, because they may actually be working. Whilst the cable might be on the ground, it may still be providing an internet service to somebody's house or business. Tag it, log it to us, and we will come and attend to it. And obviously, critically, if it's a JPS line, please don't go anywhere near it. I can't stress that enough. So please, 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 leave the infrastructure. Let us take care of that. That's our professional wheelhouse. Please don't touch it. So be safe. Watch out for the comms. They'll be fast and frequent. I pray for everybody in Jamaica. We're going to get through this, I promise you. But we're only going to get through this as if we're united together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stephen. We will have the third Stephen in the room. That is Stephen Shaw, Communications Specialist at NWA.
Thank you, Winsome. Morning, everybody. From the standpoint of the National Works Agency, we have been quite active out on the roads as we seek to try and mitigate the impact of this very huge system that's now approaching us. We have done work right across Jamaica in terms of selected critical drains, but I want to say that while we have done so, there are going to be capacity issues based on what we have been told. We know that we have been advised that we may get as much as 25 inches of stormwater flows. That's quite a bit. When you think of some of our drains, some of our culverts are 18 inches in terms of diameter. We have bigger drains. We have been making the infrastructure newer in terms of the works that we have undertaken in recent times, whether through Spark or CAPEX or other, the maintenance of secondary roads program, through what all the government programs that we have implemented, we have sought to make our network, in terms of our drains, more resilient. But there is likely to be flooding. We have areas that are low-lying, and naturally you may find flooding in those areas. But what we have sought to do is to ensure that at the back end of the system, we can be back on in business as quickly as possible. So what does that mean? It means, therefore, that where a corridor might have been impassable for 3 days, it may only be impassable for half of a day because of the nature of the work that we have done. We have built a number of new structures, new systems, and we hope that they'll help us to mitigate the impact of this system. Now, that's on the case on the side of flooding. There's likely to be down trees, and with that sometimes come down power lines, JPSCO flow, and so on. They may very well be impacted, and so the utilities depend on us. We have been mobilized. We are, in terms of persons with power saws, with trucks, we may have to cut and push our way through to ensure that the utility companies can go in and have the services restored as quickly as possible. So it is really a joined up effort. We know the importance of our work, and we are working with all concerned to ensure that the country is not left hobbling for too long based on what we have to do. We have done, we have mobilized our emergency center, and I want to say to persons, where you have issues, you can contact us at 658-213-2557-60. There's also 876-312-3991. There is 876-312-3987. But let me add very quickly, in terms of our response, there is a certain priority that we go through. So the roads to the airports, the seaports, these are crucial. We have to ensure that they are opened as quickly as possible, because supplies will have to come into the country, people have to come into the country, technical experts and so on. Hospitals, those corridors must be opened as quickly as possible as well. The facility to the road to Petrojam, that has to be opened. The roads leading to the NWC installations, because people will need water, and we have to make sure that if there's an issue with a road leading to a NWC installation, that we have that cleared as quickly as possible. We have already started receiving reports of roads being blocked. We have responded to those, and we are committed to doing so right throughout this event. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Stephen. We have Delano Williams, who is the Acting Public Relations Manager from NWC Online, and he will now speak to us.
Okay, thank you, Winsome. Let me say good morning to Minister Vaz, Minister Samuda, the various agencies that are represented, and of course the viewing public. We too have mobilized our emergency response and hurricane preparedness approaches and activities all across the island. And I just want to pause to basically share that we understand the anxiety and the concern that many of our customers have. One, just for the security of water supply, and two, to be assured that the response is in fact going to be timely when the need arises. We want to assure the public that we have taken the necessary steps to mobilize our teams strategically to provide water supply as quickly as possible and for as long as possible in the build-up to the impact of this system. What this means for us is we have positioned our emergency equipment at strategic locations right across the island. We have already filled our distribution tanks, locked those in. A number of our intake facilities are also being safeguarded. And the rationale for this is once we see that there is an imminent threat, the risk of damage increases for a number of the facilities that face high water flows that can cause flooding to the electromechanical equipment, can damage those equipment, can damage infrastructure. And so, for instance, for the Yalas pipeline, which is very critical to the KSA Mona network, we will be closing the intake to that. We will be also following similar steps for a number of our other facilities right across the island. This gives us the ability to launch quicker after the passage of this system. And so we're doing two things in one in terms of a balance. One of them is to maintain service as long as possible, but also to position ourselves for a quick response recovery once the system has passed. And so we want to appreciate the patience and the understanding, plus the cooperation of our customers during this time. We have, for the most part, maintained the majority of our systems. We are doing maximum pumping hours to allow you to store water to get your domestics done in preparation for the arrival of the system. What this means is speedy reconnections, speedily prepares, and the restoration of a number of pumps that were out. And I just want to quickly mention too, the Long Mountain system in Kingston is now being restarted after some displacement yesterday. Our Fish River system in Logwood, which feeds into the Logwood, is also back online. And we're taking steps to, as I say, maintain all that we can. Notwithstanding, we must appreciate that the storm, or the hurricane rather, is now arriving, and there are inclement weather conditions that are already impacting parts of the island. And so some systems are now going offline due to turbidity. This is unavoidable. So if you're in East Rural, St. Andrew, if you're in the areas such as near Castleton, in St. Mary, Palmetto Grove, the White River area, we already seeing some downtime with your water supply. The Geisel area in St. Catherine, similarly, and moving right across, well, mainly on the eastern side, but tracking towards the central Jamaica, the Moravia, Alston, lower section of the Christiana area will also see some disruption as the system draws closer to us. What we want you to appreciate, though, is again the restoration time protocols that we have established. We will commence our damage assessment immediately after we receive the all clear, having the system pass us. We are prioritizing our major systems in the numerous town centers, and this is simply because we want to ensure that essential services, the hospitals and so on, continue to remain supplied. Over the last 2 days, we would have targeted the expansion of additional storage at the KPH hospital and also the hospital in Morant Bay, St. Thomas, and those have added over 250,000 gallons of water in storage to their existing capacity. Our field teams, as I said, are quite positioned and ready to move, and our collaboration, given our dependence on, well, there is no silo in this undertaking. And so, as you would have heard from the previous presentations, we have been in dialogue as utilities, working closely, maintaining conversations, even outside of the public sphere, to ensure that we are ready, we are understanding what is priority for each utility, in our partnerships and how best we can respond when the need arises. Let me just pause again to just talk about the safety. The safety of you, our customers, is important. And so we're going to take it from two levels. One is we are going to mobilize our teams once it is safe to do so. So for you, it means you have to have, as customers, some amount of redundancy in your water. So I'm hoping you would have stored water for at least 7 days, at a mere minimum 3 to 5 days. Ensure that you are staying away from pump stations, open manholes that may become dislocated once the heavy rains take an impact on our network. This is unavoidable. You may see some dislocation of pipelines. You may see manholes overflowing. And we will be taking the reports, but how you operate in these spaces is also important. Once there is no impediment, the manholes will, the flow from them will subside, because basically you're having an intrusion of rainwater into the system. This generally subsides after the passage of the system and the rainfall. However, if you see it sustained for several hours afterwards, please feel free to reach out to the NWC to alert us where it is situated. We will be providing you with, or have already provided you with, a number of contacts, our WhatsApp channels, our toll-free number at 888-225-5692 is available. Our web chat, for as long as the networks will allow, will be maintained. And of course, we have also been pushing a lot of messages to what are the newest avenues, which is the WhatsApp channel. So a number of updates will be provided right across for you. We obviously, as I said, as I close, have taken many steps, but I want to leave it with you that we will still be vulnerable because we have surface sources, mainly rivers and springs. The pipelines in some places may become prone to land slippages. We are dependent on power supply, and while we have an expanded number of backup generators at critical locations, we've installed 4 huge ones in the last several months. The Logwood one has just come online. We have positioned over 51 in critical areas for movement, and we will be partnering with not just the utilities you see on screen, but also a number of our contractors. The JDF stands ready to assist us, and where necessary, our international partners will also seek to mobilize for us. So we're taking the system very seriously, but we also want you to appreciate that we're taking water supply to you even more seriously, and all the steps that we can possibly take will be implemented and carried out in a safe manner. We're wishing Jamaica at this time our absolute prayers. Our teams are ready, and we want you to be ready as well as we partner through this very, very difficult time. God bless you and take care.
Thank you so very much, Delano. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, there are clearly a lot of interdependencies among the utilities and our partnering agencies. It's absolutely critical for us to work together, and that's why we're here. We're now going to move over to our ministers of government. I will start with Minister Matthew Samuda, who is Minister of Water, Environment, and Climate Change.
Good morning, Winsome, and thank you. Allow me to acknowledge colleague Minister Daryl Vaz and heads of our utilities, representatives of NWC and NWA, members of the media. I think what you see on display here this morning is not just the interdependence, but the interworking nature of these agencies, and the fact that they've acknowledged that there's a serious crisis and that we are at risk from a Category 4 hurricane, and they're working seamlessly together to prepare, to monitor what actually does take place, and to ensure that beyond what takes place, we're able to recover as fast as is humanly possible. I want to thank the agencies for their post-burial commitment to building greater resilience into their systems. I want to also thank them for taking this particular threat seriously, because once we were alerted to it by the Met Service, I think everybody's emergency protocols went into place a little earlier than they would have in the case of hurricane burials. So we are happy with the work that has been done so far. We're obviously still praying for the best and hoping that Hurricane Melissa will somehow decide to leave us alone. But that does not appear to be the case. I want to echo Stephen's warnings and calls for persons to be sensible. This is not a time for sightseeing. This is a time for duty of care. This is a time for you to take care of your home, your family, your loved ones, and your neighbors. It's not a time to be moving around. As Mr. Shaw would have said, we're already experiencing some land slippage. We're already seeing some roads being blocked. As I said, not the time to explore. But I want to focus just a little bit on water. Water is life. And you'd have heard from Delana the varying plans that we have. But I do want to assure all of the National Water Commission's customers, all of the customers of rural water systems usually run by municipalities, that we're monitoring very carefully the situation that will affect them. As has been said before, but I think needs to be reiterated, we've been working very closely with the JPS over the last 12 months. They're fully aware, I believe, Mr. Grant, of all of our critical infrastructure. They know our priorities in terms of number of customers that come on with each pumping system. And particularly important, the JPS is also very clear on which parts of their system have to be up for us to supply hospitals, infirmaries, places of detention, places of safety. So we're working very closely to make sure that their restoration or rebuild plans take into consideration critical infrastructure first, and then the largest areas to bring on the most customers first. We have also committed to resilience. The government has identified over 50 generators, privately held, post-burial, that are within our specs that can help us to bring back on just about 80% of our customers within 3 days of the all clear. Now, that won't be brought on with 24 hours a day service, as generators need rest time, etc., but it will allow us to restore service and allow persons to fill their storage tanks very quickly. The nature of Jamaica's population is that 80% does live within the coast, within 5 kilometers of the coast. There will be some disruption. There is no way around that. The other 20% is scattered, so the other 20% are served by scattered water systems. That will take some time. We do have 4 mobile generators that we've also made arrangements with to go to some of these more remote communities after. So even before JPS has completed its work, we will give them some water to make sure they're able to backfill. Beyond that, as Delana would have mentioned, we've made our own investments and brought on some major generators for some of our major plants. So areas like Logwood that serves Hanover and Western Westmoreland. Areas certainly within the Mona treatment plant and indeed the Hermitage treatment plant. Of course, our springs out from the Rio Cobre are on generator. This will allow us to restart very quickly. Of course, there will be some disruptions. We do expect levels of turbidity from our groundwater systems that will need to settle a few days after. But we're working very closely with all of our partners. We've established communication mechanisms. Flow and Digicel are well aware of our communication needs at the Water Commission, so that they're able to also support us with that. There's a lot at stake over the next few days. We encourage persons to listen to official sources for information. Nationally, those sources start with the GIS, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Education and Information, of course the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, Transport rather, the Ministry of Water, Environment and Climate Change, the Prime Minister's accounts, Minister's direct accounts, and of course, as it relates to service providers, please take information from their official pages and not from screenshots that people tend to circulate in WhatsApp groups. We beg of you, check official sources. Misinformation is already the order of the day, despite our pleas. And we also, in closing, ask that as you see something that gives you concern, someone going up to a cell site, someone heading to one of the JPS sites, someone going to one of NWC sites with generators that doesn't fit
not usually in that community, please alert the police and alert the service provider. It doesn't make sense that you don't have water, you don't have cell service, not because we didn't prepare, but because someone chose to steal the fuel. We beg of you, Jamaica, keep safe. God bless.
Thank you so much, Minister Samuda. And finally, we have our Minister of Energy, who will now speak.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Let me just indicate that at midday today, the commitment of daily press conferences will continue, and this one will be hosted at the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management through Minister Mackenzie and Minister Dixon. My presence here, along with my colleague, is to give some kind of assurance or reassurance to Jamaica that we are on top of our portfolio responsibilities as charged by the Prime Minister. I want to indicate very clearly that I am satisfied with what has been presented to me and what has been presented to the country, and I think that there has been a lot of lessons that were learned from Beryl and the continuous dialogue that has taken place since Beryl for us to have a response to the crisis. But I want to caution Jamaica to understand that Beryl was not a direct hit. It came very close, but it was not a direct hit. And you saw what happened with that. We're now speaking about the possibility of a direct hit at a category 4 or 5. That is catastrophic. And therefore I want Jamaica to understand that the level of damage is possibly going to be much, much worse than Beryl. So that takes me to the point of the plan is all well and good. It is the execution of the plan after the event that is going to be critical. So everything on paper is always easy to write and easy to speak about. But the execution, which is going to require collaboration and coordination, and that is not only from the government standpoint, but the providers who are gathered here today giving us a good speech. As they say in Jamaica, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And I think by now, all of you at this table would know that I'm a hard taskmaster, especially when it comes to protecting and representing the people of Jamaica. In this situation, there is no P. We are all one Jamaica. And if we don't work together as one family, one Jamaican family, then we will not get the desired results in the timelines that we are going to need. Electricity and water are the two most critical components in a recovery from a disaster. And my presence here again, and Mr. Samuda, is to reassure that I'm not leaving it to the providers, JPS and the telcos. We are going to be on top of it, representing you, the Jamaican people, every step of the way. From now, during the weather event, and most importantly, after the weather event. I am happy with the plans that have been outlined, especially the contingency plans to bring equipment and personnel into Jamaica as quickly as possible, because there's no doubt that that is going to be required based on the projections. I will save other portfolio responsibilities for the government press briefing at 12 o'clock, which will be obviously carried widely and live. But again, I just want to say and reiterate what has been said before in relation to making it as easy as possible. Everybody in every community must look out for their brothers and sisters, but most importantly, they must look out for those who want to set us back by greed or whatever other reason with interfering with government property or the telcos or JPS's property. So the 20 gallons of diesel that they steal for whatever reason is 20 gallons less that will be able to be used for you in your community to provide cellular service, electricity, or whatever else it is. Again, without electricity, the water pumps across Jamaica are not going to be energized, save and except for those that have generators, and that will not give you the level of consistency that we are going to need. So again, I appeal to all Jamaica, put aside partisan politics, put aside any rifts that you may have, whether in family or friends, and just work together. Let us pray hard, because only that can help us at this late stage of the impending hurricane. It is now a Category 4 and estimated to go to a Category 5 by tomorrow. I cannot tell you or impress upon you what that level of devastation could be. Only God and all of our prayers can take us through this. God bless Jamaica, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Minister Vaz. We have a number of media representatives in the room. We will now take questions. We also have persons online with questions. We will definitely be coming to you. Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Janella Precious, Television Jamaica. You're currently live, so I want to start off with the JPS. One of the questions that we've been getting a lot is, at what point when the hurricane makes landfall will you decide to turn off the entire grid? That's the first question. The second is for Flo. We've been getting quite a number of complaints about disruption in service in areas in St. James as well as in St. Elizabeth and St. Catherine. Can you give us an update on that? I will not hog the show, so I will just start with these two.
No, thank you for that question. I appreciate it. So in regards to at what point will we actually turn off the grid, let me speak to you from what are some of the parameters that we look at in making such a determination. As we think about that, we have to think about the stability of the grid. And a fundamental thing in terms of grid stability is matching the actual ability to serve customers with the generation output in order to maintain a particular frequency. Whenever you have a disconnect between those two, due to what we call a lot of transients on the system, which are falls, trees falling in lines, and other things that make the grid potentially unstable, in order to prevent a cascading effect that may then lengthen the time of restoration, at that point in time, the system operations team may make a decision to then shut down the grid. But let me reassure you that we are prepared to do all that we can to the best capabilities to safely keep the grid up and running to serve the load. With that being said, however, in parallel with that, we also have plans to, say, potentially island the grid. What does that look like? So say you have a case whereby you have significant faults and significant impact based on the devastation on the grid by this Category 4 or 5 system in the corporate area. We are also prepared to potentially island, whereby we'll separate the corporate area from, say, Montego Bay, and you have the grid operating in two separate islands, whereby at one point you may have to shut down one particular area, you leave one up. But what that does is, once there is an opportunity to restore, it leads to a safer and more timely restoration. So to sum it up, we are prepared based on the changing conditions to make that decision. We don't want to have an unstable grid that can be in oscillation and then that can have a cascading effect. We are prepared to island the grid to allow stable service. In all cases, however, the focus is on the safety and the stability of the grid to reliably serve our customers. I'll just add one thing. Another factor that could inform that is the significant storm surges. We just heard that we're expecting storm surges of over 17 feet at some of our generating stations. Generating stations online right now are being supplied by alternate diesel oil and heavy fuel oil. If it's a case where the storm surges of such that it supersedes the levels of our generators, that may also be reason to shut down, because then you won't have the generation available. We have taken significant steps in items such as mobile high-velocity pumps, sandbags, ensure drains are cleared to facilitate our generating stations being online. Right now, to give you a feel of our generation mix, we are, in terms of renewables, we are curtailed more than 99%. So of the 150 megawatts of renewables that we have on our system, 100 megawatt wind, 50 megawatt solar, we're only getting approximately 1 megawatt due to cloud cover and due to the need to lock out wind turbines for safety reasons. So we can't depend on renewables right now. We also do not have our liquefied natural gas facilities, as they have had to demobilize for safety reasons based on the Port Authority and the Harbour Master, so that vessel is gone. So we're now burning alternate diesel oil and heavy fuel oil to serve our load of approximately 550 megawatts. But we do have a reserve margin, as we have been prepared for this. Our storage levels are there. We have a reserve margin of approximately 18%. So we still stand ready with some flexibility to serve, but it would be a moment-in-time decision based on the grid impact and based on the need to then put in place our plans to facilitate safe and timely restoration. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you. You know, we are aware that some of our customers are having the mobile voice issues. I'm currently on the network. The problem occurred somewhere around 7 a.m. this morning. Our teams are on the matter right now. They are working through to make sure. But be rest assured that we will have this up in the next couple of hours. We're working, mobile data is fully active and running and working, WhatsApp, all those things, monitoring all the websites, etc., and all the updates. Those are working correctly. But it's affecting some of our customers, so we're working on that. But even as I speak here this morning, I just want to show you something. I don't know if anybody can see this. This is Red Hills Road, Cashepack, where, for instance, vandals this morning went in and stole cables right along Red Hills Road from Cashepack all the way up. So this is the kind of thing that affects us in a hurricane scenario, right? So I'm asking the public as well, help us to make sure. We're going to try and restore the services that just went down there to make sure that everything is okay, but because we want to make sure everybody's connected during the storm. But these are the things that, you know, I mean, we scratch our heads about every day, but this is our own Jamaican people are doing this, you know. So be vigilant, help us, be our eyes and ears out there. Thank you very much.
We'll take another question from the room. Okay,
Okay, so we're hearing a lot about you're in rebuild mode, because we do understand, you know, what is at stake. But certainly currently, Mr. Shaw, do you have enough manpower, because that is going to be crucial in terms of recovery, to clear roads, etc.?
Thanks, Janela. We have a team of stakeholders or contractors with whom we have been working for a long time. We have had a lot of experience in respect of dealing with matters to do with roads becoming impassable, drains becoming clogged, and every year we have new players coming into the sector, and that's why every year we actually have a meeting with our stakeholders, our contractors, where we share with them exactly what the expectations are, what is it that they are supposed to do in the event of a system impacting us. And so we are fairly confident that we will have enough personnel, enough boots on the ground to deal with the situations. We have some timelines within which we work, and depending on the level of the impact and the nature of the impact as well, we are going to be leaning on our friends here at JPSCO, for example, because if it's a situation where there are a lot of fallen trees, they have a system in place where they go out and they cut trees that are endangering power lines and so on. So we may very well be working together as it relates to treating with some of these matters. So we are fairly confident that we'll be able to respond in a fairly good way.
Just on that note, Stephen, there are reports specifically from Portland of landslides that will affect the accessibility of the telcos to get to their sites. It is imperative that be dealt with today prior to the weather event, because once that comes, obviously we won't. So I just say that I think coming out of this meeting, a report should be generated by the telcos in relation to any roads accessibility that they have that would need to be treated with as a matter of urgency, and that would have to be dealt with as a priority before the weather event. I've gotten reports in Portland. I'm sure other parishes have the same problem, but I guess you would get those reports directly through your phone lines, etc.
Sorry, so what exactly is the situation more in Portland, just for clarity?
There's one or two landslides in the Buff Bay Valley, which is from Buff Bay that takes you all the way back to Newcastle, which is one road, one access in and one access out. And there's cell sites along that stretch that would be impacted in terms of accessibility, not to mention, obviously, access to shelters, etc., etc. So I'm just raising that since we are all here, and prior to leaving, we should be in a position to indicate across Jamaica which roads are creating access problems for the telcos or GPS.
Are you aware of those particular landslides and what, if anything, is being done about it?
Well, there's a response through the local NWA parish office, which would have the protocols established for disasters. So I'm hopeful that those would have been action already. If not, obviously, will be action now. But I'm not limited it to Portland. I'm saying across the island, based on weather that we have had over the last few days, there would be other situations such as this that would need to be prioritized as critical in terms of the preparations for the impending weather event.
Follow up to you, Mr. Shaw. Where else right now specifically are you aware of landslides or land slippages right now?
Just the areas mentioned by Minister Vaz just now. Our team in the operations center, they are monitoring the situations. I know we had trees impacting roads in St. Anne and in St. Thomas. And so the area that Minister Vaz spoke about just now, Gio, is one that is highly susceptible to landslides. And we will have to continue to monitor that area. I want to also say that we will respond to each and every situation as long as it is safe for the team or the teams on the ground so to do. We have to ensure that we monitor the situations and respond accordingly, because if the system, in the height of the system, I don't think we'll be able to go out into any area to try and clear blockage or anything like that. But certainly, once it is safe for us to respond, we will. And the areas that Minister Vaz would have spoken about, crucial. There's a school in this space as well that is a potential shelter. We have to treat with those areas and treat with them like now.
You know, I'm just thinking aloud. Stephen, you mentioned the vandalism that has started already. And thinking that maybe what we need to do is have a specific hotline to report vandalism, coordinated with the police and the telcos and JPS. So discuss that with me after the press conference. I think that we need to be activated like now because it's going to happen. Yeah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Follow for you as well, Flo. The issues that people are experiencing now with service on network, is that connected or related to the vandalism that you mentioned?
No, it's not related to that vandalism. It's a technology challenge that we're having right now. We hope to get it up in 2 hours. So it's not all our base. It's some of our base. But it will definitely be up and running because we don't want anybody to be out of contact during the storm.
Yeah. And for Digicel, any reports of vandalism?
Not this morning.
Minister Vaz, Arthur Hall from the Jamaica Observer. Have you started discussions with the JPS to release them from their guaranteed standards as Melissa approaches?
I've had discussions with the president, informal discussions just during the last couple of hours. The government is prepared to do whatever it needs to do to facilitate the quickest restoration of JPS and the telcos. We stand committed. Whatever has to be done will be done, and we will treat this with the urgency that needs to be based on the fact that this is a disaster, and in disaster, you have to act quickly to be able to respond. So you have that commitment. The people of Jamaica have that commitment that whatever is needed to legally deal with the issues in terms of force majeure, etc., will be dealt with this. My pen has a lot of ink.
Thank you so very much. I think we have some questions from our online participants. Audrey, would you?
Sure. So this is from YouTube, and it's for both Digicel and Flo. The person wants to know if I have a generator and power goes, will I still have internet/cable?
Sorry. It's not a straightforward answer, unfortunately, because you've got to think about it. You've got to start at the core network first. If the core network is operational, then the service will be sent. So I think obviously you've got a mobile network and you've got a fixed network as well. So if there is power at the mobile network, then obviously that will work. If there is power at the fiber network, then also that will work as well. But if one of those links is down, in essence, then it doesn't matter whether you do or you don't have power at the house.
Cool. On our fiber homes, as long as you have power based on the connectivity, you should have. In some instances, obviously, on our HFC network, it's power dependent. So once batteries run out in some of those instances, they will go. But obviously, it's quite power dependent. We have over 400,000 homes that are passed by fiber. Those will largely stay up from that perspective. Those serve directly as long as you have generator power. But on the HFC network, which is a corporate area particularly, once batteries go down, which we have consistent supply for at least 6 to 8 hours, it will stay up.
Thank you very much. The other question, they're asking for a reminder. Some people can't find it. Where are the telecoms WhatsApp channels? I know you also have comms representatives here as well. So if they can just say it so that those who are listening can know where to find the WhatsApp channels.
Okay, the WhatsApp line for Flo, 620-2200. That's 620-2200. 876.
Right, thank you very much.
So for us, 876, I was going to do +1 then, but I won't. 876-355-5000. But if you go onto WhatsApp and you look in the channel button, this is generally to the bottom left, you could search for Digicel Jamaica, and then you can follow the channel. But I think also there's some great channels that the ministers have talked about as well, JAS and OddPEM, etc. as well. I think that's really important as well. Obviously, you can call us in the old-fashioned way as well. 876-619-5000 or 100 from your phone as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just for clarification, it's a WhatsApp line. It's a customer service line, not a channel, but a customer service line. Thank you so much for that.
I just have one closing remark to make. There are many Jamaicans that have never experienced a hurricane, the younger generation. The last major hurricane of this magnitude was Gilbert 37 years ago. So you have a large population that has never experienced a category 4 or 5. The eye of the hurricane brings a lull in wind and rain, and it is dangerous as persons will feel that the hurricane is over, and they will go outside to check on their houses or drive to check on family if they can, and the hurricane will return in short order and you will be caught off guard. That is where many lives have been lost in previous hurricanes. So again, I'm making an appeal, especially to those younger persons who have never experienced a category 4 or 5 hurricane. Remain indoors until such time as the hurricane has passed. It has left Jamaica. If you get caught in the eye, you are in danger of injury or death. Again, God bless Jamaica, and I pray for each and every Jamaican.
Thank you so very much, Minister Vaz. We will be closing now, and as I wrap, I'll just underscore this note of being very, very careful. This is likely to be catastrophic. You have heard that word used many times. We pray for the best, but we're preparing for anything. And the plans are good. The collaboration is happening. The partnerships are real. So we do expect that once the system has passed, we will start executing on the plan. As I wrap, I want to say thanks to each and every worker of every organization represented here. This could be a long, painful, difficult rebuilding. And we know that you will be stretched. We know that it is difficult going, but we understand and appreciate your commitment as employees of JPS, of FLOW, of NWC, Digicel, and NWA. And on behalf of Jamaica, I want to say thank you all very much. Remember, stay safe and plug in to the legitimate channels for accurate, timely information. Thank you all very much.